Some technologies are transformational. The process of hydraulic fracturing underground has been around for decades. Combined with horizontal drilling, as it was in the last 2 decades, it's changed the world. The United States is the country which has pioneered the rollout of fracking and has seen some 300,000 wells drilled and fracked, most of them in the last 15 years. It has found large quantities of oil and gas to the point where it is now exporting gas and will soon be energy independent. That has changed its attitude to the world. Fracking could hold great benefit for South Africa too. Consider that the Moss gas field, which employed thousands of people for 25 years, was started on less than 1 trillion cubic feet of gas. Estimates of what may be under the Karoo range from nothing at all to 400 times that. The truth is, we don't know, and we won't know until exploratory wells have been sunk and fracked. The process is not without risk. As you've heard from my colleagues this afternoon, many people in South Africa think it is too risky to even try. The risks include fracking fluids getting into water supplies, competition for water, and wastewater spills. The United States Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, has completed a multi-year study of fracking. It found there was no evidence that fracking had any widespread systemic impact on drinking water. Yes, there has been pollution of gas into water supplies caused by well casings that were absent or not properly constructed. There are now standards in place to ensure that this is done properly. If we are to frack, we must apply best international practice in this regard. Fracking uses a lot of water. One well uses as much water as it takes to water a golf course for a week. There is concern about where that water should come from. That's why we believe that fracking should only happen if it does not take water from people who are currently using it. Much of the water that emerges from a fracked well is similar to acid mine drainage. That water must be collected and cleaned. Once again, drillers must be held to rigorous standards. Now, after a bumpy start, this government has handled the issue better, appointing a multi-agency task team to investigate it. But this government has a credibility problem. People don't trust it to look after the environment. People look at mining, not just historically, but more recently where mines have damaged the environment through a combination of bad rules and worse enforcement. Just go and look at open-cast coal mining around Ogies if you don't believe me. So people say we can't trust government to make sure fracking is done properly. In order to address this problem, government should include on its task team academics and members of civil society organizations, and it should be completely transparent about its operations. It should have the power to stop bad practices and should be able to shut down operations if they are polluting water used for drinking and farming. Especially during the drilling and fracking of the first wells, there should be constant supervision by something like the task team, which includes independent experts. There should be no suspicion that anything can be covered up if it goes wrong. If there is gas down there in big enough quantities that can be safely extracted, the benefits are potentially massive. 6 trillion cubic feet of gas would give us a gas-fired power station the size of Medupi, with electricity that was cheaper and cleaner. It has the potential to run gas-powered smelters and gas-to-liquids plants, which is a technology that South Africa has shown that it's good at. Through it all, there is the potential to create large numbers of jobs, not only in the actual fracking, but also in industries that will become possible with clean, abundant, and cheap energy. But none of this is imminent. Even if government gave the go-ahead today for fracking, it would still take something like 8 years until the industry could get into production. But all this is theoretical until government changes the disastrous new version of the MPRDA. That ensured that nobody would spend money on oil and gas drilling. Government has apparently promised to fix it as the bill proceeds through the NCOP. Frankly, this government's record on mining so far argues against it getting the regulatory framework right. This is an expensive business. A fracked well can cost $20 million US. Energy companies won't invest and develop our resources unless they can be sure it is worth their while. Then there is the infrastructure that government wants to be the only one building for a gas economy, pipelines and storage and distribution networks. The gas utilization master plan has long been promised, but has still not emerged. If government wants to control this infrastructure, it must get moving. The customary glacial pace is not sufficient. It is possible to be both consultative, considered, and quick. If there is a way to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs, as have been promised, this government should investigate it speedily. There should be no delay in exploiting a technology that could pull millions of our people out of poverty. And this would essentially be a new industry. From the beginning, it should be free of the taint of corruption, which has been allowed to infect our mining industry. If there is a suspicion that drilling licenses are being handed out to enrich pals of the ruling faction of the ruling party, this industry will find it hard to attract both investment and public support.